Hi, everyone. Dorothea Hendricks here, your communication coach and presentation skills and public speaking. Today, we're going to look at 5 tips, 5 approaches to help you become more comfortable with your presentation material, help you memorize it, know it a bit better, so that you can feel more relaxed the next time you're giving a presentation. Tip number 1, create an outline. Create an outline. Basically, take a piece of paper and think about, in point form, what is your message? Write it out in point form. In point form, why are you sharing this message with the people that you're speaking to, and why at this time? In point form. And then again, in point form, what are the 3 reasons why this message, this core message that you're giving is important? Your support material, your examples. In point form, example 1. In point form, example 2, example 3. And then get ready to wrap up. What's your call to action for everybody in point form? So that what you're doing is having everything abbreviated on one page. Now, in order to do this effectively, it means you have to write out a full presentation. You need to have a clear idea of what it is that you're talking about before you can put anything in point form. Usually in a work environment, you're familiar with the material because you're speaking on it probably every day. So it should be relatively easy to take some content that you can put together and then abbreviate it into short, simple phrases or words. In any presentation, what you always want to have prepared and know off by heart is your opening when you're addressing your audience and basically introducing your key message, the reason that you're there, and at the end when it comes to wrapping up and with your main point and then giving that call to action for your audience. Now, in point form, once you've got all your points down and you're comfortable with that, create a transition sentence, maybe 1 or 2 very short sentences that will take you from your presentation into the Q&A, transition you into the Q&A, and then once you're finished your Q&A, then give your final wrap up, give your conclusion. So create an outline. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2, use flashcards. Now, flashcards are those cards, and it's right now I'm talking about them, and I don't even have one in front of me, but flashcards are those cards, 3 by 5, 4 by 6, that you can hold in the palm of your hand. And on these flashcards, you will write one word or a short phrase that will remind you about your presentation. Again, have memorized your opening and your closing. And people might say, well, ask a question, why is this important? Even when you're doing PowerPoint and you've got all your information there, in order for you to engage the audience, in order for you to demonstrate your competence, your confidence, for you to come across as a credible speaker who knows their information and is a person who can be trusted, you need to get out of the starting gate with your audience and build that relationship at the get-go. And then again at the conclusion, at your wrap up, that you're looking at them, you're engaging with them, and as you're presenting your information. So know your opening and know your closing. So going back to number 2, when it comes to flashcards, these are cards that you hold in the palm of your hand, and you hold them in one hand, not 2 hands. You're not reading like this. These cards allow you, when you're holding them in one hand, to make body language, to use gesturing. And if you need to look at them, you can give a quick glance, bring this up, put your hand back down, use it, other ways to demonstrate whatever it is that you're talking about. The other thing you may want to do is number your flashcards just to make sure that if one drops to the floor, if something happens, that you can put them back in order. The other thing with your flashcards is that you're going to use only one side. This is no turning overs. And in fact, I'm going to suggest to anyone, anytime you're doing a presentation, even if you're using notes, and I've got a book right here, even if you're using notes, never, ever take it and turn it over. No. When you're using notes, you're using one side. When you're finished with that one side, what you do is slide the paper across the lectern, across the table, whatever it is, off and away, and move on to the next one. You want the least amount of distractions. That anything that can grab your audience is a distraction, and that you want the least amount of anything like that to happen. You want your talk to be listened to and people to watch you, hear what you've got to say, and adopt your message. So flashcards, again, you're using only one side. You're putting in keywords or phrases, very similar to doing an outline. You're going to write in a font that's easy for you to see. If not, maybe you can highlight it. And you're numbering the cards for easy recollection, and you've got them all in logical sequence. Flashcards are much, much more professional looking than pieces of paper, which rattle, make noise, and are a big distraction. So flashcards, if you need to use them, use them. And sometimes you need to. And again, you have your opening and your body prepared. Number three here is use the question and answer method. This is one that not very many people use, and again, it requires a fair amount of practice to use it fairly effectively so you don't sound sing-songy. But the question and answer is exactly that. Again, you have created your opening paragraph and your closing with your call to action in your opening paragraph that addresses the audience and introduces your key message. But the question and answer session is where you've gone through your content. You have your content and you know what is most important from this content. And what you do is you create questions from key parts of your content. And then what you do is you answer those questions. So what you're doing is you're giving a presentation and you're saying sometimes people want to know, and you ask the question why we're covering this topic. And then your answer is, and this is why we're covering the topic. Then you bring in another question and you answer the question and you go through your presentation in a very logical, straightforward, simple sequence that's easy to understand. And question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. And every question is a key idea, key concept that you need to remember. And of course, you'll know the answer. So you may want to preface this by saying, telling your audience that often there are questions that in the past that people have asked you. And so what you've done is you've compiled a series of questions. And what you'll do is share them with the audience and give the answers to those questions today. Or you can say, often people want to find out, and here are a number of questions that people want to know in terms of this particular topic. And I'll go through and answer each question in my presentation today. So you can give them a heads up, because sometimes when you're asking a question, someone in the audience will pop up their hand. If you don't want people to pop up their hand, let them know in advance that you're asking these questions and you'll go through and answer them. If you do want engagement, bring them on board, have them put up their hand, listen to what they've got to say. And if you're fairly comfortable and well-versed in your content, then of course what you can do is incorporate that answer and move through the same process to the end of your presentation. Very effective, but again, you need to know your content very well. So that was number three. Number four is create a memory palace or mind palace. And what you're doing here is you're delivering your presentation through association. If you're very good at using your imagination, visualizing, creating pictures in your mind, then doing a memory palace or mind palace, it will work wonderfully well for you. I'm more of a word person, not so much a visual, but I've known people who've used the memory palace to great success. And so what you do is you picture, usually for most people, it can be your home. Picture your home. And again, you have to have a clear idea of what you're talking about and the logical sequence of what your message is. You're introducing your message, why this message is important, and it's supporting evidence for that message and what you want people to do with the information. So again, you need that put together. So now using a memory or mind palace, what you're doing here is, for example, picturing your home. So you open up the front door and you open up the front door, and now this is where you bring in your idea, your key message. So again, by association, opening up the front door of your house, you're walking in, you're sharing your key message, and you're walking down the hallway, you're addressing the audience, you're bringing them on board. You're walking into the kitchen. The kitchen, of course, is filled with many important items. You got a fridge, a stove, probably a microwave, some other appliance. And all of a sudden you see those and you go, oh, I've got 3 appliances. Here's where I have my 3 ideas. So you've come in through the door, you've introduced your message, you're talking to the audience, addressing the audience, you're walking into the kitchen, And now you see 3 appliances that remind you of the 3 key examples, the 3 key points you want to make that are going to support your message. And then you walk into the dining room. That gives you example number 1, and you expand on it. You walk into the living room. That's example number 2, and you expand on it. You walk into your study and expand on example number 3, and then you're out of your study, walking toward the back door, down through another little hallway or foyer, and what you're now doing is wrapping up, your key point, your key message, and giving that call to action, and you walk out the door, and you're finished your presentation. You say goodbye to the audience. That's a very abbreviated version of using the Mind Palace. And maybe when you're coming in the front door, I think I said you introduce your idea. Yeah, I'd probably change it right now. And I'm going to say what you do is you welcome your audience, you address your audience. And then as you're walking down the hallway, what you do is you introduce your point, you get to the kitchen, and now you've got your 3 main examples that you want to expand on. And then you go through the dining room, the living room, and the study, and then out the door. There are different variations of this, but it's all through association, and you plant a picture in your mind and you put that content in that particular picture that's in your mind. So opening the door, you're out there looking at the audience. Wow, isn't this great? And you could be also welcoming, addressing them, and now introducing your message, because walking down the hallway, now you're going further, you're getting into your content. So again, all this what does requires, I can't even talk here, it requires practice, practice, practice. And you need to have some good content structured in a certain way in order for you to be able to do any of these effectively. Never just do one and don't practice. That's basically going to kill you kill your speech. It'll kill your presentation. You need to practice all of these, even something as simple as the flashcards. You need to practice. And the last one, number 5, is create an acronym. I've often used acronyms in my presentation. One that I use, especially when I'm dealing with people who are really, really petrified or nervous about public speaking, I use the acronym FEAR, which spells fear. And that stands for, the F stands for future, the E stands for events, and the A stands for appearing, and the R stands for real. Future, events, appearing, real. And this is what happens often when we stress out over public speaking or stress out over anything that we're unsure about, is that we start building all kinds of scenarios in our head that usually are not favorable toward us. Then they are upsetting, will fail, I won't succeed, people will talk at me, people will laugh, whatever it happens to be. So future events appearing real, and that's the acronym FEAR. You can find, when you're looking at your presentation, you can probably find key words out of which you can create a word, because an acronym is actually a specific type of abbreviation that forms a word. Another example would be from a workshop that I did a number of years ago on listening. So the acronym is LISTEN. The L stands for look. Look at the person when you're speaking to them. And of course, this was pre-COVID, but still, even on the screen, we're looking as much as we can. Imagine the person on the other side. So you're looking at the camera. And the I is to identify the key concepts, the key ideas being talked about. The S stands for seek to understand. Stephen Covey's look to understand, seek to understand first. T stands for time. Give yourself time and the other person's time. Give yourself time to digest and the other person time to express, fully express what they want to say. And then we have the E. The E stands for eliminate any judgments that you've got. And the N stands for never interrupt. Give the person space to deliver what they want to deliver, the message that they want to share. So listen, that's an acronym using the word listen. And acronyms are easy for speakers to remember and put into practice. And they're also easy for the audience, because even though they may not remember, like listen, What is that again? That's look, identify, seek, time out, eliminate. And I might not be able to remember the N. I can't. Oh, then maybe one day it'll come to me and I'll remember that the N is not interrupt and I may forget the others. But eventually we get it together because they're relatively easy for us to remember. Generally speaking, our minds like lists. We like certain things that go in a particular order, and acronyms go in order because they spell a word. So our five tips on approaches to helping you memorize. In any case, all of these, as I said earlier, requires you knowing your content and requiring that you practice, practice, practice. The other tip that I'll just give that has nothing to do with the 5 tips here, but it's a general tip when it comes to practicing. Often what will happen is we will practice from the beginning of our speech to the end, from the beginning of our presentation to the end, to help you not be caught off guard, to help you deal with the unexpected. Switch your practicing around, mix it up. Go from the middle to the end. Go from the end, almost the end, to the end. So do portions, mix up your bits and pieces of your presentation, because the more comfortable you are with it, the more you can move around. And again, that adds to your confidence and it adds to your credibility. If you feel so comfortable that you can basically hop anywhere in your presentation, somebody asks you a question that takes you back to the beginning, you've got the answer. You've got it. So we are rolling toward the end of the year, and I want to wish everybody warm and wonderful times with family and friends this festive season, and wishing you for the coming 2024. Actually, it's 2024, not so many 20s, but coming into the brand new year of 2024, wishing you mountains of success.